Good afternoon and welcome to today's yoga class. I am going to take a minute here and just share the live stream in a couple other places so people can easily find us and we'll get started. So our class today is going to be all about letting go of expectations, letting go of competition, letting go of the other item that I can't think of right now. Judgment, competition, expectations. Those are the three. Oh my goodness. Okay. So if you're just joining me, we are going to start in just a minute or two. I want to make sure that I share this live stream in a couple of places so everyone can easily find us, and then we will get going. So today is going to be a pretty relaxed class. I want to work a little bit more on the mindset part of yoga versus focusing on the physical part. We're still going to be doing physical, obviously, but it is not going to be our main focus. So let me just go through here. So today's class is going to be a little tiny bit different in that I am going to be doing some reading from a few different books, as well as a little bit more talking about the topic as we go. First, I am going to finish sharing these and then we will get started. So that is there. So welcome again if you're just joining. There's a few little glitches with Facebook Live right now. They're updating their software and I, for some reason, cannot see most comments as they come in. So if you are commenting and I'm not replying, it's because I can't see it, and I will reply after we finish the live video later. So if you're saying hi, hello. If you're saying something else, hello. Hi, Sherry, Heather, Lindsay, Catherine, Maria. I can see people who I'm friends with as they join. And one last thing before we do get started, I'm going to find a little playlist for Spotify that you can play in the background if you want to have some music. I have not had a chance to create any new playlists yet, so I apologize if you've already listened to these. But this one that I'm going to share today is over 9 hours long, so you can skip forward in the playlist. Hi Lexi, hi Betty. A Spotify playlist. And again, you never have to use these playlists that I share. It's just for those who do want to have something. So there, I just shared in the comments a Spotify playlist that you can use if you like, but you do not have to. And now I'm going to head over to my mat. For those just joining us, again, I am going to be doing a bit more reading today than I normally do in a class, a virtual class, and I cannot see comments for the most part. So if you have a comment, I will reply to it when I finish the feed at 2 o'clock. So we are going to lay back on our mats, knees bent or out long, legs out long, whichever you prefer. If you have a little yoga eye pillow or scarf or something like that, you can put that over your eyes. And we're just going to take a moment here at the start of class to relax on our mat, feeling the support of the floor beneath us, feeling grounded, knowing that we can relax our muscles because the ground beneath us is supporting us. We don't have to hold tension. We're able to just let go and take a moment. Our class today is focusing on letting go, and that comes from my training through Yoga Fit. In Yoga Fit, we have what's called the Yoga Fit Essence, and I've written it down because I otherwise butcher it if I try to do it from memory. But as a Yoga Fit instructor, part of our mandate is teaching our participants through breathing, feeling, listening to our bodies, letting go of competition, judgment, and expectations, and staying in the present moment. So that's where the idea for today's class came from, the letting go of expectation, judgment, and competition. And those expectations can be expectations that we have for ourselves or that we have for others. It can be referring to competition with ourselves or others. And it can refer to judgment of ourselves and others. So you can take it however you want. For the most part on our yoga mat, I find that it's expectations that we have for ourselves, judgments for ourselves, and competition within ourselves. But you can apply this to any part of your life that calls to you right now. And whether you have Christian beliefs or not, this weekend of Easter seemed like a really appropriate time to talk about letting go and just letting what has to happen, happen. Take another moment or two here just to feel that support of the ground and earth beneath us. Feeling your breath slow and deepen. Allowing yourself the space, both physically and mentally, to let whatever needs to happen during our yoga practice today happen. Whether that's just lying here on your mat for the whole class, opting for poses that aren't the same as what I'm teaching, but are what call to you in the moment. Maybe you feel called to have a nice cry. Just whatever comes over you is what you're supposed to be feeling in this moment. So just let go of those expectations and judgment of yourself and let what has to happen, happen. We're going to start, as we often do, by exhaling as we draw one knee in towards the chest. Hands come behind the knee joint, or the leg joint rather, and coming back down. Exhale, drawing the opposite leg in. Inhale, extend. You can keep your eyes closed throughout this, or if you want, if you feel more comfortable with your eyes open, please feel free to open them. Just taking your time. Noticing, as always, how this feels through your low back. We talked about last week the close connection between our psoas and our parasympathetic nervous system. And while we're just letting go, it's important that we let go of any tension we're able to let go of. And noticing how your low back feels is a big part of that. Next time, let's bring both knees in, hands behind the knee joint, just gently rocking a little bit side to side. Then maybe drawing a circular shape in the air with our knees, one direction, and then the other. Slowly releasing our feet down to the floor, keeping a bend in our knee. We're going to exhale as we lift our hips, peeling one vertebrae at a time up off of our mat, and then slowly lowering right back down. Exhaling as we lift, inhaling as we lower. Trying to articulate each vertebrae as much as possible, but again, letting go of those expectations, not worrying if it feels like your whole back is fused together. That could be stress talking, that could be weeks of sitting talking, that could be a number of things. There's no point in judging yourself based on how you feel you are performing in any pose or any exercise. It does not serve you. Just notice what is today and work within that. Let's do one more. And this time as we lower, once again, let's draw those knees in, gently rocking a little bit side to side. And then releasing our feet back down to the floor. We're going to roll over onto one hip. Use your arms to help you come up onto your hands and knees. I have to fiddle around with this microphone pack. Different day, same story. And coming forward, hands under your shoulders, shoulder width apart, knees hip width apart. We're going to exhale as we arch our back up, dropping through our chin, dropping through our tailbone. Inhale as we lift, looking up toward the ceiling into cow. Exhaling up into cat. Inhaling to cow. Slowly transitioning from one to the other as we flow through our warm-up poses. Remembering that we're going to keep things pretty chill here today, but I do want you to finish the hour feeling like you've had a nice stretch. One more time. Then coming back into a neutral spine, into our spinal balance. So opposite arm and leg extends and comes back down. Flexing the foot, toes pointing down towards the floor. And you are looking down towards the floor as well, keeping your neck in line with the rest of your spine. One more time either side. And then sinking back into child's pose, allowing your forehead to rest on stacked hands, stacked fists, yoga block, or your mat. Allowing your eyes to close. And focusing on your breathing once again, trying to notice those deep inhales, feeling an openness in your low back. Exhale, big, complete exhales. Relaxing your shoulder, your jaw, your eyelids. One more nice deep breath in and out. And on the next inhale, floating forward, kneeling plank. Exhale, sinking back, child's pose. Inhaling forward, kneeling plank. Exhale, sinking back, child's pose. And just continuing at your own pace, connecting your breath with your movement as we come forward into that plank on the inhale and press back on the exhale. One more time. And then hanging out right here, once again, in child's pose. So some of the readings I'm going to read for you today are from The Yamas and Niyamas by Deborah Adele. I think she's Deborah, actually, which is exploring yoga's ethical practice, which is sort of like the yoga version of the Ten Commandments. And specifically, I will be reading some parts from the section on the niyama that's all about surrender, which Sanskrit is Ishvara Pradhyana. But we're just going to call it surrender because we know that word a little bit better. So surrender has a lot to do with surrendering our egos, opening our hearts, and accepting the higher purpose of our being, which is a little bit woo-woo for our purposes, but that is what its purpose or its guideline invites us to do. But we're going to be going through a few different scenarios and stories that are in this section of the book that I hope will help with your letting go of judgment, competition, and expectation today. From child's pose, we're going to come back up onto all fours. And instead of cat and cow, we're going to do our lateral flexion. So you're going to look over one shoulder as you press the opposite hip the other direction and then to the other side. So kind of like a snake slithering side to side. Just getting a little bit of openness there through our side bodies. Nothing crazy. One more. And then coming back to neutral, and we're going to come back to cat and cow. So exhale as we arch our back up. Inhale as we lift, coming in to cow. And we're going to transition from cat and cow into sunbird. So it's going to be up to you whether you want to just stay with cat and cow or add the sunbird. But if we go to sunbird, we're going to flex the foot as we lift up. As we come into cat, we're going to bring the knee in towards the body. Exhale, press. Inhale, press. Exhale, drawing in. Staying on that same leg. And if you have added in sunbird, we're going to switch sides. So pressing up, drawing in. One more time. And coming on down, tucking our toes, reaching our arms out. Coming up to downward facing dog, walking our feet in place a little bit. Fingers are spread nice and wide, pressing into our mats with the pads of our fingers. And then we're going to take a leisurely stroll forward, coming into a forward fold. Letting our arms and head hang heavy, slight bend in the knee. Gently shaking our head no. Gently nodding our head yes. Inhaling to prepare, and as we exhale, coming all the way up to standing, hands coming down to heart center, rolling our shoulders, pressing our thumbs into our sternum as we close our eyes or cast our gaze downwards towards the floor, bringing our attention back to our breath, those inhales and exhales. Noticing if you can feel your heart beating into your thumbs. Letting go of any judgment over whether you do or don't feel. Maybe rocking a little bit front to back, finding your center of gravity. Then as we open our eyes, we reach our arms up overhead. Exhale, sinking back into chair. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, sinking. So some of the ways I'm going to encourage you to let go today is through going through some poses where you're going to have to really be mindful of what version is going to be best for you today. So the first place we're going to do that is right here with chair. I'm going to turn to the side. So maybe your chair pose looks like this today. Maybe you can lift up one heel, maybe both. Maybe you feel like you can get a little bit lower. Try not to just sit right on your legs. That's a little bit of a cheat. Coming up. But just finding that position for you, keeping your shoulders relaxed. Then wherever you are, coming all the way up to standing, lower your heels if you did lift them. Exhale, forward fold. Slight bend in your knees. Inhale to prepare. Exhale all the way up to standing. Finding your way back into your version of chair. Maybe here, maybe lifting one heel, maybe lifting both, maybe getting a little bit lower. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you always should. So just because I can do that lower version with my heels lifted doesn't mean that that's going to be the best option for me today. Inhaling up, Exhale, forward fold. Let's step back to down dog. Or having the option to lower right down into child's pose. Again, listening to what your body needs, letting go of your expectations of how you should perform in your class. And then let's all lower down to our knees, sinking back to child's pose. So as I was looking through my books, preparing for today's class, I realized that a lot of the teachings in the books are a little bit too real right now. We're all going through a very unique situation, and not everything was going to be overly helpful. So I had to really pick and choose what I was going to share this afternoon. And I'm hoping that what I chose is going to be helpful for you. So going back to our teachings on surrender, one of the examples they use in the book comes from Doug Keller, who uses the imagery of ice chunks to help grasp the concept of expansion and release, which we'll talk about more in a minute. He likens life to a flowing stream, and we are chunks in that stream. We're the same quality as the stream, however, we are frozen with our tensions and fears. And right now, we all have every right to be frozen with tension and fears. But part of our practice is to start to melt ourselves into the flow of the stream, becoming one with the flow of life. As we relax and release our rigid thoughts and muscles, we can begin to flow with life. And that doesn't mean stopping our cautious practices and staying safe, but it means trying to find ways to let go of those things that we can't change. We can't change the direction that the river is flowing or the stream is flowing, but we can change how we react to it. If it's flowing east and we're trying to go west, we can stop trying to go west and reroute so that we too can go east and find our way. Easier said than done, but in times like these, it's important to know that struggling against that stream is not going to benefit any of us. Let's take one more moment here in child's pose. Then we're going to come back into downward facing dog, remembering that you always have the option to stay in child's pose or another pose that you feel is going to be beneficial for you. Let's reach our right leg up high. Inhale, and as we exhale, draw the knee in towards the forehead, pressing back out, in towards the forehead. One more time. This time, bring the knee in, place the foot down. We're going to engage through our core, lift through the arch of our foot as we rise up into crescent lunge. Holding here for a couple breaths. Relaxing your shoulders. If you had any neck or shoulder issues, bringing your hands down is going to be more beneficial. And then we're going to bring our hands back down to the mat as we float our back leg up. We're going to find our way into our version of Warrior 3 this afternoon. It's the afternoon. And this very well might be my version of Warrior 3 today. My legs are really sore. But you can try lifting one hand, maybe both. I don't think my leg can hold me. Maybe you can lift both legs, or not both legs, both arms. I'm going to let go of my expectation of how I should be teaching this class, and I'm going to keep my hands right on the floor because my legs are very sore from teaching all week. Maybe for you, Warrior 3 is way down here. If I come all the way up, I can demonstrate Warrior 3 holding onto the wall a little bit. But I'm going to hang out here. Let's take a couple more breaths. And then if you did lift your hands, bringing your hands back down to your mat, lowering that back foot, stepping the right foot back, down dog, or child's pose. Again, listening to what your body needs and not what your ego wants. We are in a yoga perspective, we're in a unique situation where everybody is in their own homes, so they don't feel that pressure of performing for the other people in their class. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to listen to what your body needs, which is a good thing. It's one of the benefits of our virtual practice at the moment. If you are in child's pose, let's meet our friends in down dog. This time reaching our left leg up high. Inhale as we exhale, draw the knee in towards the forehead. Pressing out, drawing in. One more time. This time placing the foot down, engaging through the core. Coming up, crescent lunge, arms extended or together. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Notice how you feel right here. If you already feel exhausted, you're going to keep your warrior 3 down lower. One more deep breath in. And as we exhale, moving forward, bringing our hands to the mat, lifting the back foot. Once again, you can play around with it. Maybe lifting one hand, maybe lifting both. I'm totally cheating. I have my elbow on the wall. In full disclosure. So finding your version, it's okay if it looks different on the second side. Usually does for most people. One more deep breath in, and as you exhale, bringing your hands down to the mat if you did lift them. Step that foot back. Step back to down dog. Taking a moment or two here before we all sit back into child's pose. Coming back to our analogy of life as a stream. Another way you can look at it is if you've ever been or ever seen someone whitewater rafting, you'll know the power of the rapids. To fight them is to lose. Instead, you have to use the rapids to your advantage to navigate through them safely. Learning to let go is as skillful as being able to maneuver a raft through whitewater rapids, knowing that the power is in the current and the rocks and your own skill to keep from capsizing or crashing. Like whitewater rafting, letting go is learning to skillfully ride with what the moment gives us while trying to enjoy the process, whether we glide through safely or get a little bit wet. And yet we can easily find ourselves waging war on the moment by demanding that it gives us what we want, served just the way we want it. It would be like trying to make the current do what we want it to do. That attitude is disastrous on a raft, and it's disastrous in life. So think of all of the things that we're trying to control, that we're trying to force to happen in our own timelines. Many of us are working from home instead of in offices, which is going to change all of our workflows, often making things more challenging and not less challenging, but safer. A lot of people have children at home and they're trying to do homeschool work as well as their job, as well as the household chores, which are increasing exponentially because we're all at home all the time. And it's too much. There's no way that we can do all of those things. So we have to let go a little bit wherever we can. If that means that the laundry piles up for a few extra days, or the dishes, or you don't get all the homework done, that's what has to happen. We need to let go and make sure that we ride this out and we're safe when we come out on the other side. That is our number one job right now. When you're ready, we're going to come up onto all fours. We're going to lower down onto one hip. Sweep our legs around. We're going to come into butterfly. So grabbing onto our ankles, staying nice and tall. Maybe if we want to have a little bit more sensation, we can hinge at the hip, keeping our chest lifted. Continuing to press our feet together and not worrying about pressing our legs down, just letting your legs fall where they fall. This is another one of those places where you can't change the direction of the stream. How far your legs fall has so much more to do with the way your femur inserts in your hip than it does about flexibility. If you are narrow through the hips, your legs are always going to be up higher because that's the way your anatomy is made. You can't change bone just like you can't change a stream. So you have to let go of your expectation as to how a pose should look. It should look different on every single body. There's very few poses that are going to look the same for everyone. Mountain pose is probably one of them because you're just standing. But still, there's people who practice yoga who don't stand at all. So that makes their mountain look different, but no less. Just coming back up. Opening our legs, feet are flexed. This time just walking your fingertips forward as far as you want to go until you feel as much sensation as you want to feel. Let me grab my other set of notes here. So as we hang out here in a seated straddle, remind us that as we're able to let go of what we can't change, like our anatomy, we're able to grow more and more in our unique gift and contribution to life itself. I'm wide through the hips. This type of movement is really easy for me, as is butterfly, but there's a lot of other poses that are not easy to me because I have wider hips. I need to make sure that I use my body type to my advantage and not berate myself for the things that I can't do as well because of it, because we all have those things that come easily and those that don't. Life knows what to do better than we do. Our task is to let go and receive each moment with an open heart and then dance skillfully with it. So let's come back up nice and tall. We're going to bring one leg in. We're going to come into double pigeon, which is another one of those poses that for me is pretty easy because I have a wider hip. So for some people, you may have to stack your leg in front of the other, one in front of the other. To go into full double pigeon, you would stack your ankle over your knee over your ankle. So you can see that for right here, I can do it pretty easily. A lot of people are going to find they're more like this. And again, those are largely people who have a narrow hip. It could also be just tight through the psoas and the piriformis. But your anatomy is going to play a bigger part in this than anything else. So you can stay up nice and tall, whether you're here, or you can start to hinge forward a little bit. You can get a little bit deeper into that if it feels okay for you. If it doesn't feel okay, don't do it. Let go of your expectations of how you're supposed to perform in any given pose. I think it's really empowering for people to know that some poses are just going to look different because of their body shape, because you can't change bone. You're not going to be able to do something if your bone doesn't allow it. And when you realize that it's not you, it's not something you've done wrong, it's just your body type doesn't allow that type of movement, it's pretty freeing and you feel a lot better about your abilities. Let's come back up and let's switch sides. So first, maybe bringing that leg in front, and then you might be able to play with stacking them. Now the second side is probably going to feel different than the first. It's okay. And if you want, you can come up forward. I can't come as far forward on this side. This hip is quite a bit more sore than the first. That's all right. And even if you compare my double pigeon today versus a couple days ago, I had quite a bit of space between my knee and my ankle because I had a lot more tightness through the hip, but I have loosened some of that up since then. So things change day to day, week to week, person to person. That's why it really is no benefit to ever try to compete with someone else, looking at their version of a pose and trying to emulate that. You can emulate your version of it, but chances are you're never going to look exactly the way they do, and that's okay, and that's good. Let's come back up. And we're actually going to come back onto our hands and knees. Now, if you need to grab a pillow or a blanket or towel or something, or even just double up your mat so you have a little bit more cushion for your knees, please do. We're going to step 1 foot forward. It doesn't matter which one. We're going to do both sides. And we're going to start as we often do, by easing in and out of that low lunge. But we're going to take this a little bit further today, just so we can work on that letting go portion again, both mentally and physically. So we're going to do a big hip opener here. Most of us are pretty tight through the hips, so you're going to have to be really mindful of just noticing what works best for your body, and again, not what's best for your ego. So this time we're going to hold forward into that low lunge. We're going to hang out here for a couple seconds. Back foot relaxed, flex, whatever you like. And then I'm going to bring my hands down, but I'm going to bring my hands side by side. So I'm going to turn to the front and hope that I don't run out of real estate here. I'm going to put my foot on the wall. So I'm going to have my hand, so it's hand, then leg. Instead of on the outside, it's on the inside. And then I'm going to turn back because I do not have enough room facing that direction. And from here, we're going to stay up nice and tall, or maybe lowering down onto one forearm, maybe onto both if that feels okay for you. That front leg, you can let the inside of your foot lift and let the knee follow to the side. For me, I feel best, really, if I had one of my yoga blocks right here with my forearm on the yoga block. But I'm just going to stay up nice and tall because this is where my spine feels best today. Some days I can hang out on both forearms, no problem. That's why it's important that we not judge ourselves and we take each day for what it is. Just because you had a bad day yesterday doesn't mean today is going to be a bad day. Just because yesterday was good doesn't mean today is going to be good. So if you want, you can always find a little bit of movement in a pose. So I'm just kind of swaying a little bit side to side. And then if you felt like you wanted to go a little bit deeper, you could flex that back foot, lift that back knee, and just kind of move if that feels good. If it doesn't, then don't. And if you did lift that back knee, go ahead and ease it down. If you're on your forearms, come back up onto your hands. And then we're going to sit back, leaving that leg in front, but you're going to heel toe it forward a little bit and then lift the toes, getting a nice stretch through the back of the leg. In hearing the crazy wind outside, we may also have to let go of the expectation that spring has arrived because it's a very blustery day out there. All right, let's gently ease out of that. You're going to feel a little bit discombobulated, but that's okay. We're going to bring the opposite leg forward. Going to ease in and out. Remember, the second side can and probably will look completely different than the first. Then we're going to hold into this low lunge. Same thing as the other side. I'm going to bring my hands to the inside of the leg, heel toe my foot out to the side a little bit, and then just kind of play around with it, maybe coming down onto one or both forearms. On this side, I'm more comfortable with one hand and one forearm. But again, it really is up to you. You have to find that spot for yourself. And you can kind of move it around a little. Then if you want, you can flex that back foot, lift the back knee. For that, I am going to come back up onto both hands. But if you're comfortable on your forearms, you can stay there. And you don't have to lift your back knee at all. I'm going to move around just a little bit. Sometimes I find you can let go of a little more tension if you add a little bit of movement into a pose, if it feels good. All right, then let's lower that knee. Let's sit back. Let's heel toe that foot back to the center and lift the toes. That nice hamstring stretch. We'll slowly come back up. We're going to come onto our knees. And another place to let go of expectations. We're going to flex our feet. So we're going to tuck our toes under. I usually find everyone but the pinky cooperates, so I just let the pinky hang out for a couple more seconds. Then we start to sit back a little bit, getting that stretch through the foot. You may have to make a couple adjustments. And I like to start on hands and knees because then you can just incrementally add weight. And then when we get there, I give that little pinky a little tuck. You can stay here. You can start to walk up. It's again, letting go of expectation as to how your version of this pose is supposed to look. Maybe your version has to be right here because you have a lot of tension through your feet. This is a big stretch. Sometimes you have to tuck that pinky toe in a couple times. He's just so little. He's just so little. And when you've had enough, just relax the feet. You don't have to stay here any longer than you're comfortable. You don't have to stay in one version of the pose the whole time either. You can ease in and out of it. And then we're all going to ease out of it. We're going to relax our feet. And we'll sit back. Not quite into hero. Hero would have our feet out to the side. We're sort of sitting still on our feet. If this isn't comfortable for you, of course, you don't have to do it. I'm going to try and grab my water. Usually I teach with a peppermint stuck in my cheek to keep my mouth from getting too dry, but I forgot to grab one. So we're just going to hang out here for a couple seconds, letting the bottom of our feet recover, but also stretching through the top of our foot. And then we're going to finish with our version of camel. So we're going to come up into a kneeling position. You can keep your feet relaxed, or if you want, you can flex them. I'm going to flex them because I'm going to show you a few different options for camel here. So we're going to make two fists. We're going to put them on the top of our glutes, knuckles facing one another. We're going to inhale. As we exhale, we're going to roll our shoulders as we start to lean from our low back, squeezing our elbows together. You should be able to swallow comfortably. If you can't, bring your chin a little bit closer towards your chest. This is option one. If that feels a little bit too much for you, even there, you can start to just reach one arm back, bring the arm forward, bring the other arm back, and bring it back forward. So I call this a swimming camel. And then you can start to add an arm reach. And then once you've done it a few times, you can hold for a few breaths. And then switch. Or, of course, your third option is to come into a full camel, which is not going to be very comfortable for a lot of people. Most people are going to find this comfortable. So let's slowly tuck our chin. Slowly come back up. Relax the feet if you did flex them. Sink back into child's pose. Remember, every back bend, we counterbalance with a forward bend. Making sure your forehead is relaxed. Unstacked hands, fist, yoga mat, or yoga block. This time maybe rocking your forehead a little bit side to side. Relaxing your jaw. letting go, and more specifically, the niyama of surrender, asks us to be strong enough to engage each moment with integrity while being soft enough to flow with the current of life. When you're ready, we're going to come down onto our bellies. Bringing our hands to the mat. Elbows are just about under our shoulders, but a little bit wider. We're going to inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to press up just into that Sphinx pose. So flowing through life with integrity, something that can be really challenging. A lot of people are facing those challenges now where maybe they're earning less than the $2,000 a month they could get while staying at home. I know I'm in a unique situation so far. There's very little financial assistance for people like me who are still working, but working at a significantly reduced rate. But we have to continue and know that support will come. Stay with your integrity and continuing to serve your clients and customers if you're able to, in a way, if you're able to. But we're all facing a lot of challenges right now. It's important that we keep what's important to us, like integrity, like our morals, like our values, at the forefront of our mind when having to make decisions. Let's slowly lower down, stacking our hands or fists, resting our forehead. And then taking your time, pressing up to all fours, lowering your hip down, sweeping your feet around. This is all fancy talk for let's lie down on our mat. So if you want to put on socks or a sweater or anything else that's going to make you comfortable for these last few poses, leading into final relaxation, please take the time to do that now. And we're going to start, as we often do, in that constructive rest pose, where we walk our feet a little bit further away, allowing our psoas to relax. One thing I don't often mention, but when we're in a lying position like this, especially in final relaxation, I like to lift my upper body a little bit, tuck my shoulders in ever so slightly so my scapula, my shoulder blades are laying flat on the mat and they support me a little bit better than if I was out to the side and they were kind of like on an angle. So I just lift up and tuck ever so slightly. Just find it a little bit more comfortable. And if you wish, you can close your eyes. You can put a yoga pillow, scarf, blanket, whatever you like over your eyes to darken the room. As we start to make our way towards final relaxation, we do have a few poses left, but they're all ones that you can do by just listening to the sound of my voice. This first one especially, since we're not actually moving. Bringing your attention again to how the ground and the floor beneath us is supporting us, helping us feel grounded, knowing that that support is there in our lives and it's okay for us to relax into it. It's easy to become super vigilant and holding tension through our bodies all of the time, even without realizing it. And we're going to walk our feet a little bit closer towards our bodies as we return to that flowing bridge, gently lifting your hips, peeling one vertebrae at a time up off of your mat, slowly lowering down. Again, we gently lift, slowly lower. Taking your time. Last one. This time as you lower, let's draw our knees in, grabbing behind our legs. Once again, rocking a little bit side to side. And we're going to release the legs, but we're going to keep our legs lifted. You're going to reach your arms out to the side. Hopefully you don't have a wall in the way like I do. And you're going to keep your legs glued together as you lower down towards one direction, just as far as you can, keeping both shoulders on the mat. Lifting up, lowering the other way, and back up. And just think of your legs a bit as a windshield wiper. Last time. And then you're going to take one leg, doesn't matter which one, cross it on top of the other leg and let your legs kind of fall out to the side. We're going to come into a reclining cow face pose. So you can stay right here. Maybe grab your shin with your hands. Maybe you can grab down towards your ankles. Maybe it's okay for you to grab the outside of your feet. You want your head and neck to remain relaxed on the floor. Remember, if you feel your legs jumping around a little bit, that's okay. That's your body letting go of some tension. All right, let's release our arms if we are using them. And we're going to switcheroo, so opposite leg is on top. Same thing, start by grabbing your shins if that's okay, maybe down to your ankle, maybe the outside of your feet, and be prepared for this side to feel quite a bit different than the first. Then as we release, we can bring our feet down to our mat, walking out into that constructive rest position. Maybe you want to stay there for final relaxation. Maybe you'd like to bring your legs out long into our traditional Shavasana. Maybe reclining butterfly or another pose is calling to you right now. Just find whatever pose is going to be most beneficial for you for these next few minutes as we relax into final relaxation. Shavasana, final relaxation, is a posture for practicing letting go, putting ourselves on our backs with our arms and legs stretched out at a 45-degree angle from the body signifies the end of the activity we have just participated in. It's also a practice for surrendering and letting go. In Shavasana, there's nothing for us to do. We are asked to just lie here, releasing any tension in our bodies, letting go of effort, and trusting that the breath will breathe us and the body will renew itself. This is one of the most important practices we can do, for it is here that we begin to learn the meaning of letting go of all the ways we physically and mentally fight with life. Let's slowly start to bring our attention back to the room, wiggling our fingers, wiggling our toes, maybe taking a full body stretch. And when you're ready, over the next few breath cycles, making your way up into a seated position, we're going to finish our class today with this short meditation. So sitting comfortably, whatever that looks like for you, you can keep your eyes closed or can look down towards the floor, hands resting on your legs. Relaxing your shoulders, your jaw, eyelids, cheeks. Coming into a seated position really helps us focus on our inhale and our exhale. And in this time where we're filled with so many feelings of what we should be doing, I want to finish our class today with a short meditation about shoulds. And as I read this, I want you to imagine that you're saying it to yourself. I get rid of the shoulds in my life. I remove the word should from my vocabulary forever. Should is a word that makes a prisoner of me. Every time I say should, I'm making myself wrong or I'm making someone else wrong. I am, in fact, saying I am not good enough. From here on in, I replace the word should with the word could. Could lets me know that I have choice, and choice is freedom. I need to be aware that everything I do in life is done by choice. There is really nothing that I have or should do. I always have choice. So instead of I should go for a walk, I could go for a walk. Instead of I should clean the house, I could clean the house. Just that one letter changes the word, changes the entire intention behind it. Let's slowly open our eyes, bringing our attention back to the room. Deep breath in, reaching up overhead. Exhale, hands come down together. Again, breathing in and exhale. One more time. The light in me honors and respects the light in you, and together we seal our practice with Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me on this Good Friday, and I hope that whatever you have planned for this weekend that you don't feel like you should do it, but that you could do it, whether you do it or not. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. This is it for me until Monday. For those of you who follow me in my group and whatnot, I am not doing any more live streams until next week. I'm taking a couple days off. And I'm letting go of those expectations of, of having to provide entertainment all of the time. So I will be back on Monday. But thank you once again. Have a wonderful, wonderful Easter, even though I know it's going to look a little bit different. I still hope it's lovely. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.